Hey everyone, so today we're going to start distributing and combining like terms. Our objective is that you will be able to simplify expressions by distributing and combining like terms. So our agenda in class will have our activator or warm-up. We're going to go through notes and practice and then your summarizer. So to start off, just some vocabulary. So the first thing we need to talk about is variable terms. So our variables are our letters. So like X, Y, could be A, B, C, D, any letter. So your variable terms are your terms that contain a variable or a letter. So like this whole 2x is a variable term. This whole 4y is a variable term, but this 9 is not because it does not have a variable attached to it. Our constants are our terms that do not contain a variable. So in this case, your 9 is your constant because it doesn't have a variable with it. Lastly, your coefficients are the numbers that are attached to the variable. So in this case, 2 and 4 are the coefficients. Now we're going to be talking a lot about like terms. So like terms are terms that have the same variable and are raised to the same exponent. They are the only terms that we can combine together. So some examples of like terms are 2x, 6x, and negative 5x. They all contain the x, and they all don't have an exponent with it. Same here, we have 5a, 11a, negative 86a, negative 15a. So any number can be in front of that a as long as it just has an a and is not raised to any exponent. Now 5, 17, negative 9, negative 15, and any number would all be like terms because none of them contain any variables, so they're all the same. Then going into exponents, so this is what I was talking about. They have to be raised to the same exponent. So like 3x squared, it's raised to the second power. 6x squared is raised to the second power. And negative 8x squared is raised to the second power. They're all the same variable and they're all raised to the same power, so they are like terms. Lastly, 5b to the sixth, negative 2b to the sixth, and 9b to the sixth are all like terms. So cases where we wouldn't have like terms down here would be 6x, negative 7x, but then we have 11x squared. So because of that squared, they're not like terms. And then here we have 5x and 6x, but then this 11 does not have an x with it. So they are not like terms. So when we're combining or simplifying expressions, we're combining like terms. So you just add or subtract them together, but only ones that have the same variable to the same exponent. So if we look at this first example, we have 2x plus 8 minus 8x minus 9. So 2x, we want to look for any other terms that have an x. Well, right here we have negative 8x. So we do 2x minus 8x and we get minus 6x. Now those are like done, you can cross them off. Then we have positive 8 and negative 9. Both of these don't have any variables, so they are like terms. So we just do 8 minus 9 and we get minus 1. So our final answer here is negative 6 minus 1. Now if we look at this one, you start off with your 5x. Let's look and see if we have any other terms with just an x. We do right here. So now this last x doesn't have a coefficient, so if there's no number in front of it, there's just one of them. So we'll do 5x plus 1x gives us 6x. Then next we have, I'll make it like a box, 8y and negative 8y. They are like terms because they're both y, but 8 minus 8 is just 0. So if it goes away, you don't have to write it. And then we're left with negative 9. It doesn't have any like terms, so we just copy it down. So we're left with 6x minus 9. Now it's getting a little longer, so I like to stay organized by crossing out terms as I use them. So I always just start with the first one, negative 3a squared, and go through and underline any terms that have an a squared. So right now I'm only seeing 2. So we have negative 3a squared plus 1, remember, because there's a 1 in front of that. Negative 3a squared plus 1a squared gives us negative 2a squared. Next I'm going to circle, so those are done with. Negative 4a, so I'm going to go through and look for any terms that have an a, and I see one right here. So you need to always include the sign that's in front of it too. So we have negative 4a plus 7a gives us positive 3a, and now those are done. And then we have negative 9 plus 12 gives us plus 3. So this would be our final answer. Let's look over here. We have negative 7k squared. Well, I don't see any other k squareds here, so I'm just going to copy that down and cross it off. Now I see positive 8p. Oh, I don't see any other terms with just p and no exponent, so I'm going to copy it down and cross it off. Then I see negative 9p squared. I don't see any other terms with p squared, so I'm just going to copy it down, cross it off. And then we just have plus 14. So this one actually didn't have any like terms. It was already simplified. So you just copy it down and that's your simplified version. Now we're going to talk about the distributive property. So you want to multiply the number in front of your parentheses, including the sign in front of the number, to everything inside the parentheses. So, for example, if we had a times b plus c, this is where you see people draw the arrows because it's a times b and then plus a times c. Down here, a times b minus c, we do a times b, a times negative c, so you get minus ac. So we're just going to go through practice distributing these numbers in. So distributing pretty much means multiply. So this first example, we have 4 times 2x minus 3. So we're going to do 4 times 2x. You only multiply the numbers in front of the variable. You don't do anything with this variable. So we have 4 times 2 is 8, and copy down your x. Then 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. So your answer becomes 8x minus 12. Now over here, so you always have to be careful of your signs. Look at your signs in front. If there's nothing there, it's a plus. Right here, we have a minus sign in front. So if there's no number, it's just a 1. So we're going to do negative 1 times negative 5x to get positive 5x. And negative 1 times negative 4 gives us positive 4. So if you have a negative sign in front, it just flips all your signs inside the parentheses. Now, you could have more than 2 terms to distribute to. So like this example, we have negative 7 times 3a plus 4b minus 2. So you're doing the same thing, just multiply that negative 7 by everything inside. So you have to include the sign. So we have negative 7 times 3a is negative 21a. Negative 7 times positive 4b, negative 28b. And then negative 7 times negative 2, because we have to include the sign, gives us positive 14. Now we have some fractions. So we've talked about in class how when you're multiplying fractions, if it's a fraction times a whole number, so right here we have 2/3 times 5, you put your whole number over 1, and then we just multiply straight across. So we do 2 times 5 is 10, and 3 times 1 is 3. So right here we get 10 over 3k. And then we want to multiply 2/3 times 6p, so times 6. Put it over 1. 2 times 6 is 12. 3 times 1 is 3, so we get 12 divided by 3, which is 4. So we get 4p. So if you can divide it, you should, but if you can't, you can just leave it as like 10 over 3. Now we're going to combine this all together. We're going to distribute and combine like terms. So whenever you're asked to simplify an expression, you always want to distribute first before you combine any like terms. So if we look at this problem, This whole -3 is being distributed into the parentheses because you always have to include the sign in front. So we're going to just copy down the 8. We have -3 times 4x is -12x. And then -3 times positive y is -3y. You're going to copy everything else down. And now you just want to combine your like terms. So if we look, I'll grab a different color. So we have this 8 here. I don't see an 8 anywhere else, so I'm just going to copy, or a number anywhere else. So now we're done with that 8. Right here I see -12x, and I see another x term right here. So we have -12x minus 6x is -18x. And now we're done with those. And then lastly, we have -3y, and here's another y term. So we have -3y plus 6y gives us plus 3y. So our final answer becomes 8 minus 18x plus 3y. So you always want to distribute first once again. So in this one, we have to distribute twice before we combine our like terms. So remember, if you have a negative sign here, it's like -1. So you're going to flip all your signs because -1 times 7a is -7a. -1 times 4b is -4b. Then we're going to distribute this +3 into this set of parentheses. So +3 times 5a is plus 15a. +3 times -6 is -18. And now we want to combine our like terms. So right here I see -7a. So we're going to look for more terms with an a, and I see +15a. So -7 plus 15 gives us +8a. Cross off those terms, you're done. We have -4b. I don't see any other terms with a b, so we just copy that down. Cross it off, we're done. And then lastly, we just have -18, no other like terms, so you copy it down. This one, we also have two sets of distribution, but this parentheses looks a little longer. So we're going to do 5 times -2m is -10m. 5 times -3n is -15n. And 5 times 2 is plus 10. So you have to make sure to multiply that 5 by all three terms in the parentheses. Then we're going to distribute this whole -2. So -2 times 6m is -12m. And -2 times -n is plus 2n. Now we're going to combine our like terms. So right here I see -10m. So we're going to look for more terms with an m. And I see -12m right here. So we're going to do -10 minus 12, -22m. Cross them off. Right here we have a -15n and a positive 2n. So we have -13n. And then we're just left with this plus 10. So your final answer is -22m minus 13n plus 10. So now here comes a tricky one. We have lots of fractions and distributing and everything. So this is probably the hardest type of problem you'll face. So if you feel okay with this one after I go through it, you should be pretty good. So we have 3 over 2 times 4y. So I'm going to do my work with the fractions over here. So again, when you're multiplying a fraction, put it over 1 and multiply straight across. So we have 3 times 4 is 12, 2 times 1 is 2, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. So we get 6y. Now we have 3 over 2 times 6 over 1. 3 times 6 is 18, 2 times 1 is 2, 18 divided by 2 is 9. So we have 9x. Next, we're doing a whole -5 over 2 times 8. So we put the 8 over 1. -5 times 8 is -40. And then 2 times 1 is 2. So negative 40 divided by 2 is negative 20. So we have minus 20x. Last fraction, we have negative 5 over 2 times negative 6. We put it over 1. Negative 5 times negative 5, or negative 6 is positive 30. 2 times 1 is 2. So we get positive 15. And that one doesn't have a variable with it. So look at that, like all of our fractions are gone now. So if you just do this step by step like this, it's not too bad. So now we're going to just combine our like terms. So we have a 6y. I don't see any other terms with a y, so we're just going to leave it 6y. Cross it off, you're done with that. We have positive 9x and negative 20x. So we get negative 11x. Cross them off, you're done. And then we're just left with this plus 15, so just copy it down. And our final answer becomes 6y minus 11x plus 15. Lastly, I wanted to show you how combining like terms can be applied to geometry. So if you remember, when you find the perimeter of an object, like a shape, you just add up all the sides. So these are the lengths of each side. So we're going to add them all up. So we have 3x squared minus 4x. That one's done. Plus 7x minus 2x. This one's done. Plus 5x squared plus 7x plus 3. This one's done. I'm going to continue underneath here. Plus 7 minus 2x plus 3x squared minus 4x. So now this looks like a really long problem. So this is where it's important to like underline and cross off as you're going. So I'm going to just start off with the x squareds. I see one here, I see one here, and I see one here. So we have 3x squared plus 5x squared plus 3x squared gives us 11x squared. So those are done now. Cross them off. Next I have negative 4x plus 7x minus 2x plus 7x minus 2x minus 4x. So we have negative 4 plus 7 is positive 3, minus 2 is positive 1, plus 7 is positive 8, minus 2 is positive 6, minus 4 is positive 2. So we're left with just positive 2x. Lastly, I know it's getting hard to see, but we just have this plus 3 here, this plus 7 here, I messed this up, copying it down. So this should just be plus 7. So I'm going to redo the problem, but just from here, because it's hard to write neatly on here. So if we're looking here, we have 3x squared here, 5x squared here, and 3x squared here. So that leaves us with our 11x squared, and now those are done. Now we have negative 4x. Negative 4x is negative 8x. Negative 2x and negative 2x is negative 12x. And then the 7x. So we're just left with minus 5x. And then we have this positive 3, positive 7, and positive 7, which leaves us with plus 17. So we're just adding up all these terms, and then you combine your like terms. So tomorrow I want you to come to class with any questions, and we will practice more in class.